Loud Music by Stephen Dobyns. Analyzed by Angghi, Brian, and Jesslyn.
This poem is spoken in first-person narration by a person who has a broken home. The speaker is not restricted to gender, but it is written as a parental figure in his house, with the presence of his stepdaughter. Even so, the speaker is given the impression of a guy by the poet. This is probably because the stereotypical view of loud music associated with guys and the common father-daughter relationship. This poem is written for those people who have broken homes or a widow because they can relate better to the situation. Nevertheless, this can be read by anyone, as the speaker seems to vent his feelings to the readers like a friend, shown by the conversational tone of the poem. The purpose of the poem is to express the speaker's love for loud music, and how loud the volume and each bass note represents his audacity. The main idea of this poem is the speaker's trouble within his household. It explores the contrast between the parent and his stepdaughter, giving a taste of music as an example of how much different in the world in the world they are in. The speaker then describes music like it's the most beautiful thing in the world, implying that different taste of music relates to his seemingly unhappy parent-daughter relationship. This emphasizes by the speaker starting the poem with describing his relationship with his stepdaughter as circling round and round as an introduction to catch the reader's first thing. The tone of this poem is very solemn, sarcastic, and subjective. The speaker expresses the poem in first person, giving a conversational tone. This is further emphasized in the start of the poem, second line, with "you see," just like when someone is confiding into a friend.
In this poem, we have found some lyric devices. The first one is circle and round and round. This is the first sentence of the poem, which is, "My stepdaughter and I circle round and round." Describing his relationship with his stepdaughter as going round and round in circles, never in one place, might as an allusion to Tom and Jerry, which is Tom and Jerry reflects a hostile relationship, probably the same her as her stepdaughter. In this secondary device, we found speaker throbbing, which is in the second sentence, "I like the music loud." The speaker's throbbing, jam-packing the room with song whether Bach or rock and roll. This is a personification of music going through the speakers. It is as music has its own beat that throb through the speakers. Like the heart, it emphasizes on the importance of music in the speaker's life, to the point where humanizes music. Still in the second sentence, we found one more little device, which is the volume cranked up so each bass note is like a hand smacking the gut. Hand smacking the gut is a simile to the loud bass notes. Rock and roll's identical to the harshness, strong and loud. Speaker listen to rock and roll to support his or her emotional thought. This will be the imagery. Cis 4, but at 4. Their device is on sentence 3. Number 3. The fact that his stepdaughter is 4 is repeated twice in this poem. This shows that deep down the speaker actually cares about his daughter, implying that he knows his daughter well, despite the fact she is not his biological daughter, for whatever reasons. The repetition of 4 may also be a constant reminder to the readers that despite the troubles between them, she is still young and innocent. The fourth personification will be she disappears, is lost within the blare. This thing is in the fourth sentence. She feels she disappears, is lost within the blare, which is in fact I like. With blasting music, the felt like she's lost and disappearing in the loud music. Unlike the speaker, his daughter lost in sound music is implied negatively with the use of words like blare. Unlike the ocean imagery of his parents, lost in music This is supported by the confession, next of which, in fact, I like. In the fifth sentence, but at 4, what she wants is self-location and uses her voice as purpose, uses its sonar to find herself in all this space. This other device, which is simile, says she was trapped or not being herself. The world was just not real before the music was turned on. After that, music was turned on. All what she believed and confident became so real in her life. This was just a music video to her, where she believed became realistic to her. Used its sonar to find herself in this space. She's saying that the world is so big, and to be able to find herself, she needs to get in touch with her music because that's what makes her feels good.
The poet also uses symbolisms in the 14th line where he says, if she had a sort of box with a peephole. Here the box is used to symbolize life. The peephole to the box is like a crack for humans that are constantly wishing to see their future. It's like a box of wonder which, if you peep through a small hole, it gives you a glimpse of your dreams in the future. This peeping of the view also allows the poet to create imagery in the next lines of the poem. He started out with the imagery of the daughter, where he describes her with red pants, jacket, yellow plastic lunchbox, a proper subject. Red and yellow here are two bright colors, which is a contrast to the speaker. Her is represented as a real person contrast between the speaker and the second pronouns. The poet's use of imagery here also implies on a tidy and orderly picture of the daughter, again totally different from the imagery given of the speaker or the parent. Another imagery is described here, linking to the same box, where the speaker sees the same box to his eyes, and instead of an orderly subject, he sees a different contrasting kind of view, an ocean on one of those days when wind and thick clouds make the water gray and restless. Ocean tends to be related to these problems, calmness, brightness, and relaxation. However, wind and thick clouds tend to be related to heavy problems, gloomy, darkness. This imagery of darkness in two elements, wind in the air and water underneath, suggests that darkness is everywhere, despite the commonly calm and relaxing view of the ocean. He also describes the imagery with a rocky coast with a road along the shore where someone like me was walking and has gone. The rocky road is again a symbol for the tough and unstable life happening in his surrounding. This can relate to his daughter's constantly changing life, where she disappears and how she felt through loud music. Meanwhile, the speaker is walking through this road. Roads are usually a better path than its surrounding, used to give us an easier way through. In this context, road symbolizes the pathway across this rocky, tough life of his. He's walking through this as an escape to the reality of life, just like how loud music makes him feel, getting off reality. He then reveals this by emphasizing through the lines after that, loud music does this, and how clear the air becomes, how sharp the colors. The poem ends with this line of how the air becomes clearer and how colors become sharper, as a final thought for the readers to ponder. Much like a sum up, he finally describes the effects of loud music, much like the effects of drugs. Things becomes clear and sharp, and this implies on being lost in loud music in a positive way, unlike the daughter, which is lost in music with a negative implication. And despite the fact that the speaker is confiding his feelings to his readers, I think another purpose of the poem is to try to make us take sides. Here we are introduced to two different characters of the poem, and we then tend to relate ourselves as a third person reader to the lives of these two characters, whether as someone with a loud taste of music or a decorous taste of music. And he seems to be objective towards his side. Overall, the poet did well with the uses of strong imagery to create an understandable situation for readers, although it takes quite a while to dig through the layers of possible meanings the poem could provide using symbolism, metaphor, and similes.